Good evening, this is Gay Spirit, a program of information and entertainment for the lesbian and gay community of the greater Hartford area. Ricky Ian Gordon wrote that song, What Shall We Remember, for tenor Thomas Bogdan. The composer himself plays the keyboards in this recording. Both tenor Thomas Bogdan and composer Ricky Ian Gordon are classically trained and move in classical music circles. Gordon has written song cycles for such renowned classical artists as Teresa Stratus, and Thomas Bogdan, who has performed in opera houses around the world, has also made music with pop icons like James Taylor and Judy Collins. What Shall We Remember, in its lyrics, addresses the subject of personal loss, and especially the loss of loved ones to AIDS. Thomas Bogdan himself admits, and this is a quote, "The song is an AIDS song in many ways, recalling friends who have given me joy and knowledge about the wonders of gay lifestyles, people who through their love gave me courage and birth into who I am. I remember and prepare to remember." All that was a quote from our singer. What Shall We Remember comes to us on a compact disc compilation called Winter Moon, 16 tracks of songs either performed by or composed by openly gay or lesbian artists. Winter Moon was produced by openly gay media specialist Mitchell Gallup. I'm dedicating What Shall We Remember to the memory of Frank Velarde, a local openly gay man and AIDS activist who passed away at the age of 58 on Friday, January 25th. Good evening and welcome to Gay Spirit, America's longest continuously running radio program specifically devoted to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgendered concerns. Now working on its 22nd year of uninterrupted week-by-week broadcast here over listener-supported WWUH. Our companion program for the last 14 of these 22 years has been This Way Out, America's internationally transmitted lesbian and gay radio magazine. This Way Out goes out to in excess of 125 radio stations in 8 countries and is transmitted worldwide on the shortwave band. WWUH was on the original list of subscribers when This Way Out premiered in April of 1988. Ever since that time, there has been a full hour of gay programming on Thursday evenings here at 91.3 FM. First comes the current half-hour package of This Way Out, which comes to us every week in tape cassette format from 8 p.m. to 8:30, followed immediately by 30 minutes of locally produced Gay Spirit, bringing you up to 9 o'clock. The 2 gay shows are but a tiny part of the full spectrum of alternative programs we offer listeners 24 hours a day. To sample this treasure trove of audio offerings and real-time audio at any location on the planet, at any hour of the day or night, go to our station's website, http://wwuh.org. In a moment, Shawn Lang and I will reminisce about the days when she was a member of the Gay Spirit Radio Collective. In that long bygone time before This Way Out came along, Shawn will tell us much more about her work in community activism since then. Gay community announcements will follow my live on-air conversation with Shawn Lang, so stay tuned for the Gay Spirit Community Calendar right to the end of tonight's show. Yeah, Shawn, when was the last time you were here?
Oh, my God, I can't even remember. I think it's got to be at least 15 years ago, if not more.
Yeah. You mean I didn't put you on the air for some other kind of community project since you left the Gay Spirit Radio Collective?
Could have happened, but I'm claiming a senior moment and might not be remembering that.
Yeah. Well, I guess you got involved in this radio show shortly after you came here from the Boston area, right?
Very much so. I moved to Connecticut in May of '83, and I think I got involved in Gay Spirit shortly thereafter, to a large degree looking for ways to connect to the community, because I'd been part of a community in Lowell, Mass. For a number of years.
Yeah. Well, who turned you on to us specifically? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but I remember listening to the show. I had a friend who did a gay radio show up in Lowell, Massachusetts, and then
do you remember who that was, by the way?
Kirsten F. Klinteberg.
Yeah.
Did a college show up in Lowell.
On what station? Do you remember?
I don't remember what the call numbers or the letters were because it was so many years ago, but...
Do you remember which college it was?
Oh, yeah, University of Lowell. It was my alma mater up in Massachusetts, and she was doing a show there, and I think I had found out about this show, and again was, new to the area and trying to find ways to connect with different folks, and this was actually my first connection with kind of the broader gay community in Connecticut when I first moved here.
Wow. Did you take a degree in social work?
Sociology. I got a degree in Soc from the University of Lowell, which was great. It was one of those things where I felt like wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. I went to college a little bit late. I was 22 when I started college. I had worked for 4 years prior to that, and decided I needed to go to school and get a degree in something, and kind of fell into the Soc department, which was kismet, I think, in a lot of ways, because it was a perfect place for me to be.
Yeah. Well, if you are of what you might call a nurturing personality, you might be drawn to that field of endeavor.
Yeah,
that's what I would imagine.
Had like different venues, I was thinking about, but I think what drew me to that department or that major is that the first couple classes I took, sociology classes I took, the professors were incredibly progressive and in fact were very radical. There was a great women's studies department in the college at the time, and I just sort of naturally kind of leaned towards that, and it was a perfect match. So I kind of think of things in my life as I'm walking a particular path, and hopefully I have my eyes open to certain things at the time, and if the right thing comes along, I follow that path, and that was certainly one of those things.
Well, then why Hartford?
I had met someone at a conference, and she convinced me to move here. And
love, perhaps.
Perhaps. And, like many relationships, when you move to another state 6 months later, it ends. But I had a job that I really liked and decided to stay. And I've been here ever since. I've never gone back to Massachusetts. And here we are.
To the benefit of our community.
Thank you.
I must say.
Thank you.
And listening back, do you remember some of our radio collective folks, like Linda Schnitzer? I'm hoping you'll remember her. She was a stalwart of our little collective for a number of years.
That rings a bell. It was such a great experience, though, like being here and sort of doing the show with you and other folks who sort of came and went. I don't recall that I had a long stint, but I really feel like it was just such a perfect time in my life, and sort of a burgeoning time in the life of the gay and lesbian community in Connecticut, or a resurgence, of the community.
Yeah. And that little chapter in your life in Hartford, dealing with the Gay Spirit Show, I don't think it's mentioned in T.E. Gilchrist's article.
No, we'll have to call her on that.
The spread that they did on you in Metroline magazine an issue or two ago.
Yeah, I was much more focused on my activism particularly in the lesbian gay civil rights movement, or the work on passing the gay civil rights bill.
Yeah, but that's the way that people know you now.
Yeah.
That's what makes that important. Yeah.
Well, I have many different lives, I think, in Connecticut or just in life where when I first moved here, really the first thing I got involved in was Gay Spirit. The second thing I got involved in was softball, which was a huge part of my life till about 5 years ago, and played primarily either in the Friendship League.
I think I remember something.
The lesbian, the lesbian league. And then also on other teams, but it was primarily the same group of people, but we played on 2 or 3 different teams every season. And then kind of, paralleling or overlapping that, John Benelli getting me involved in passing the civil rights bill, and then one thing's led to another ever since then. And so I have kind of these overlapping lives or whatever.
Yeah, and now it's family issues, alternative family issues, and you're doing a lot of work with the Love Makes a Family Coalition in our state.
Very much so.
And you have a personal stake in these issues.
Well, yeah, that, It's kind of interesting when I think back on the gay rights bill. I really feel very strongly that because I've been so out for many, many years, that I haven't felt the same kind of oppression that some people have felt. I've always felt, even when I was in college, because I was out in college, nobody could question whether I was a lesbian or not. So there was no, innuendos or, backhanded comments that I saw other kids that I knew were getting. So when I came here and was working on the gay rights bill, I worked at a community health center at the time, or I worked in AIDS issues. So being out wasn't even a question or an issue. It was a non-issue.
Yeah.
But I worked on the bill because it was an important piece of legislation, and certainly a landmark piece of legislation, I think, nationwide. However, with Love Makes a Family, when we were working on the co-parent adoption bill, that took on a far more personal issue for me, because my partner at the time and I had a son. He's 4 years old now. And when we first started working on the bill, I don't even think he was one when we had first started working on that bill. So I had an incredibly personal stake in that, because here I had this little boy who, I had been with at the moment of conception through all his, her appointments with the doctor, and seeing the ultrasounds and the heartbeats, and talking to him every day, and going to the childbirth ed classes, and being there for his birth, and cutting his cord, and being the first one to hold him, and holding him through the night, his first day on this earth. And I had no legal right to this child, and he had none to me. And that was incredible, and incredibly painful to me. So I really had a seriously personal stake in that particular piece of legislation.
And that must have been around the same time as the Baby Z hearings at the state capitol?
Yes. The Baby Z case, 2 women had petitioned the court, I believe in the New London court, for the non-biological mom to adopt the biological child of her partner. The court actually found no reason to deny it, except for the fact that there was no law or no precedence to allow that to happen. And that's why it got kicked back to the legislature. And miraculously so, it only took it took nearly 20 years to pass a gay rights bill, which wasn't even a separate bill, but an amendment to the existing civil rights statutes. It only took us 2 years to pass the co-parent adoption bill. It failed the first year. We actually allowed it to die the first year because the legislature had attached a DOMA amendment on it, a Defense of Marriage Act amendment, which basically states that marriage can only take place between a man and a woman. We didn't want to see the co-parent adoption bill pass with that kind of onerous amendment. So we allowed the bill to die and not go on to the Senate, even though it had passed the House. The following year, we had done a tremendous amount of work with legislators, talking to them about why a DOMA amendment was both onerous and not relevant to this particular legislation, and we were incredibly successful at that. The bill passed the House it passed the Judiciary Committee with flying colors, the House with flying colors, and the Senate with flying colors, which was just an amazing, amazing victory. And about a year and a half later, I went through the process and legally adopted my son just weeks before his 4th birthday.
You had something to celebrate then at the Gay Pride time this year.
Absolutely. He and I went together to the parade, which he loved. And, it's nice now. They have a whole kids section, which he was far more interested in than anything else. But, it was an incredible celebration. I mean, besides his birth, it was one of the happiest days of my life, being able to be legally recognized as his parent.
Now, what's on the agenda for Love Makes a Family statewide this year, this coming legislative session?
Well, we're, kind of kicking things up a notch. I think we have an incredible coalition of folks, gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender folks, straight folks, religious communities, spiritual communities, all kinds of progressive and forward-thinking people who are supporting the introduction. There's actually 2 bills, and I wish I could tell you the exact titles of those bills, but in essence, there's two bills that are going to be introduced that would be to support marriage between same-gender couples. And there's a public hearing at the Capitol on February 11th, so coming up very soon, to have people present public testimony.
Yeah. Wow, maybe a little too soon because I didn't get any notification of this yet.
It's very soon, and I think, kind of what's important to note is that the Connecticut Legislative, the General Assembly, has a long session, which was last year from January through June, and then this year is a short session from February. The session opens February 6th, and it ends May, whatever the first Wednesday in May is. So it's a very short session, so things are on a very quick timeline. And, I think for a lot of us who work on what might be perceived or as controversial issues, that, we look at it as it's always a continuous movement to build on either educating legislators or build on issues, whether it's on HIV and AIDS issues or lesbian gay issues, that if something doesn't pass in a particular session, we're going to come back and we're going to continue to build on the educational process with legislators to talk to them about what the, because people hear same-gender marriage and they may see that one piece, but don't realize that there's this whole host of things that go along with that in terms of the rights and responsibilities of marriage. That even with legal documentation, for example, a contract or a some sort of prenuptial agreement or something, that gay and lesbian people just do not have access to the same rights and responsibilities that heterosexual people do. And that's really sort of what's at the crux at it. And whether you look at it in terms of Social Security benefits when your partner dies, or if your partner's in intensive care and you don't have access to that person. Even with legal papers, families can try to supersede those legal documents.
They don't want to recognize that you're next of kin.
Exactly. And I think we think of them and think of these issues in sort of the more extreme terms, death, illness, property, all those sorts of things that, probably you don't think of on your day-to-day, life. But when you're in a relationship, a long-term committed relationship, and something happens and you don't have that piece of paper or that legal backing, you're stuck and you're really left kind of flapping in the wind. I remember a very compelling story last year. There was a hearing last year that was just an informational hearing before the Judiciary Committee on same-gender marriage or civil union. And I remember this one woman talking, and she was a younger woman, I think in her 30s, and her partner had died. And I don't remember the circumstances, but her partner had died, and her partner was not close to her family. But when she died, the woman had no access to her body to make decisions about what to do in terms of funeral arrangements and those sorts of things. And the family, again, with whom she was not close, was allowed to come in and make all those decisions. And here's her partner of many years who was just shut out and left out. And when I heard that story, I was completely blown away by it, and I think it made for a very compelling case about why this issue can be incredibly important to people. And whether you're gay, straight, bisexual, transgendered, marriage isn't the path that everybody chooses, but it should be an option for anyone who chooses to be in a committed relationship.
In a free society.
Absolutely. Everybody should have options. I always like to think one size doesn't fit all, because we're all different, and we should have kind of a whole host or continuum of options available to us, and that should be one of them. So that's sort of, what's looming on the horizon for Love Makes a Family. I think it'll be a very interesting hearing. It was an incredibly interesting and informative hearing last year. And I don't expect this year to be any different.
Yeah. It's surprising that we sort of took that route in our little discussion here. It wasn't planned that way, but it really is perhaps the issue of the hour for gays and lesbians in our state, and it's all coming up in a matter of days now.
Really, I know.
Yes. Yeah, so we will be looking forward to further detailed information, including the number of those two bills and their official titles to pass along to our listeners. And listen, how can people get in touch with Love Makes a Family?
You can actually call, probably the easiest thing to do is call Chelsea Turner in Betty Gallo's office. Betty's the lobbyist for Love Makes a Family and for many other issues that we care about. And the phone number for Betty is 860-233, 860-247-4322. So it's 860-247-4322, and ask for Chelsea. And Chelsea will be able to get you in touch with the Love Makes a Family chapter in your area, in touch with the legislators in your area, who you need to talk to, and sort of what the status of the bills in the hearings are.
Yeah. There's another longtime friend of our community, Betty Gallo. Yeah, we ought to get her on the air, too. Well, gosh, you are a sight for sore eyes, Shawnzo. Just looking at you across the counter here. I'm glad that you made it just in time, by the way, folks.
In the nick of time. They changed all the roads on
interview.
me, but I found my way nonetheless.
And I've got to cram a couple of announcements in. It was great talking to you. And listen, we'll do it again sometime soon.
Thank you for the invitation. Anytime.
Just enough time to tell you folks about the Laramie Project coming to Quinnipiac University. Quinnipiac University's theater program will present the Laramie Project, a creation of New York's tectonic theater project based on the 1998 queer-bashing murder of Matthew Shepard in Laramie, Wyoming. The play will be performed from February 28th through March 2nd in the Clarice L. Buckman Theater on the campus of Quinnipiac University in Hamden, Connecticut. The Laramie Project is a play based on 2 years of research and more than 200 interviews, of which the Tectonic Theater Project of New York conducted with residents of Laramie and the surrounding area. The play explores many issues that are relevant, especially in the light of the September 11th tragedy. The Laramie Project is an ensemble piece for 11 actors playing more than 60 roles. The play premiered in New York in 2000, and then, of course, was performed in Laramie, Wyoming, too. Tickets are now available for the Laramie Project as performed at Quinnipiac University. You can obtain them by contacting Crystal Bryan at area code 203-582-9, that's 203-582-8394. Or for more information, you can go to the website www.quinnipiac.edu. And Quinnipiac is Quinnipiac. Shawn is bobbing her head to the music because it's familiar to her, too. This is Keith Brown thanking you for being with me with Gay Spirit. And be back next week from 8:30 to 9 p.m. for more information and entertainment for Greater Hartford's lesbian and gay community. Have a real gay week and good night for Gay Spirit.